Have you ever wondered why your corned beef just doesn't come out as tender and as flavorful as you'd like? Well, in today's video, we're going to unlock the secrets to cooking perfect, tender, melt in your mouth, flavorful corned beef. Stay tuned to find how a simple change in your cooking method can make all the difference. Now, I come from an Irish American family. Well, at least on my dad's side. His parents came over from County Cork in Ireland in the late 1800s. And we always celebrated St. Patrick's Day. And as you notice, I am wearing the green, the Michigan State green. But anyway, my mom always made corned beef dinner for St. Patty's Day. And she always prepared it the way I call it the stovetop boiling method. And for many, many years, that's the way I made it too. It tasted great. But I like to have a little fun in the kitchen and do a little experimentation. And so I found that, hey, you can cook corned beef great in the Instant Pot, and you can even cook it in your air fryer. And both of those have advantages. But today we're going to talk about cooking it in your slow cooker, your crock pot. In fact, once I even brined my beef biscuit. Let's start again. In fact, once I even brined my beef brisket all myself. It took over a week, in and out of the refrigerator. And it made great corned beef, but I decided much easier to buy my corned beef in the grocery store. However, if you have the time, I believe the best way to cook your corned beef is in your crock pot, your slow cooker. But you do have to have the time. It'll take 8 to 10 hours. So basically, it's cooking all day. But you can do whatever you want because it's in your crock pot. Once it's in there, your work is done. And a beef brisket is a tougher piece of meat, so it cannot be cooked at high temperature. It has to be cooked low and slow. Otherwise, you're going to turn out with a tough, chewy piece of meat. This 4-pound corned beef would take about 4 hours to cook on the stovetop, about 90 plus minutes in your Instant Pot, maybe about 2 hours because you got to bring it up to pressure and then release it afterwards. And it won't even fit in my air fryer. But it will take us, I'm going to plan on about 9 hours. The actual prep and cooking is almost effortless. But you do have some decisions, some options to consider. First off, what cut do you want to buy? There is the flat cut and the point cut. I'm using the flat cut, which is a bit leaner and a little bit less expensive. The point cut has wonderful marbleized fat throughout, so it is very flavorful, but it is more expensive and often hard to find. So, what size should you buy? Well, you want to figure about a half a pound per person. So I have a 4-pound corned beef, but I'm not having 8 people for dinner. I'm only having 4. But we love the leftovers and make such great Reuben sandwiches, and I've even made Reuben egg rolls with it. They were absolutely delicious. So we want more corned beef than we can actually just eat at dinner time. Should you wash your corned beef before you put it in your crock pot? Well, that depends. If you are not liking salty food, I would think it's a good idea to rinse it off under cool water. I like to use the corned beef just the way it is. I don't like to rinse it, but if you don't want salty meat, the best thing is to rinse it. It'll still keep the spices infused in it. Now, do you want to add vegetables or not? You could make it plain, but personally, I think adding the vegetables gives another flavor profile, a little bit extra zing to it. Now, traditionally, I always add carrots and potatoes and cabbage, of course, and sometimes onions, and I do today because it's not really tradition. My mom didn't use onions, but I do like that extra taste I think it gives to the broth. Next, you have to decide what liquid do you want. You can use just plain water. You can use beer, like a Guinness beer. Broth, be it beef broth or vegetable broth. And some people I've seen have even used ginger ale. Now today, for what I'm showing you, I'm just using plain water because I think all the vegetables and the meat make a delicious broth. And you really don't need anything extra. Oh, and you could also dump the brine in from your package if you want. You see that pinky red area? Yep, that's the brine. So you can use this if you want to, but it might make your corned beef too salty for many of your guests. Then you have to think of how much liquid do you need. And you'll see people that will say it has to be covered, your meat, completely. Others say cover it up to the top line in your slow cooker. And others say figure about 1 cup of liquid for every pound of corned beef. And what we're seeing today, I've put the liquid up to about the top line of the corned beef. What spices do you want to add or any additions? Well, it comes with this nifty spice packet, so that's generally what I use. But you could make your own pickling spices or add some extra cloves, some bay leaves, or even juniper berries. Completely up to you. And you may want to add a little garlic powder, but again, not traditional, but it might be what your family loves. And if you really are concerned about the salty taste, you might want to sprinkle just a little brown sugar on top, and that will take away some of the saltiness. One more thing to consider, how do you like your veggies and your cabbage? When I'm making a pot roast, I put in my carrots and potatoes and onions on the bottom, and it roasts all day, right? Low temperature, 8 hours. So I'm doing the same thing with this, but what people are more picky about is the cabbage. And it depends on how you like to eat the cabbage. Now, do you like it crispy? If so, put it in about 1 hour before your finish time. If you like it more medium, put it in 2.5 hours before it would be done. And if you like it ultra tender, the way my family likes it, then I'm putting it in right now before I put on the lid. Now you've made your decisions, and here are my ingredients. This is a nice, almost 4-pound corned beef, and it's the flat cut. And of course we're going to need some cabbage, and I like to add some carrots, potatoes, and a little onion. I'm going to prepare the vegetables by peeling the potatoes and carrots. Oh yeah, I was going to show you. These are that Titan peelers, and they have kind of a sawtooth edge. I don't know, can you see that? But they are just wonderful for peeling, be it potatoes or carrots or any of your vegetables. It's really fast. And if you want to make julienne strips, again, both of these really easy. I learned about them from Anna from the Fermented Homestead, and I'm so glad I bought them. If you're interested, I have a link below. So now we layered the vegetables on the bottom of our slow cooker. That will make kind of a platform for the meat. I'm going to open it up. Have a lovely piece of meat. Just gonna lay it. Now when you put your corned beef in your crock pot, make sure you have the fat side up. That fat will just insulate the meat a little bit and help prevent it from drying out. Carefully look in your package, and you should have the pickling spices. And we're just gonna add those right like that, just shake them on top. We're going to add our water. to add, that was 4 cups of water. I'm going to add just a little bit more. You do not have to cover it. But I like to have a lot of good juices in there. That's good. Maybe about a half cup more. And now we're going to stick in our cabbage. Just tuck them in there. So I'm putting them more on this side because this side sticks up a little more. Let's get our lid on, right? Okay, we got everything in here nice and cozy. Now we're going to put on the top. I've already set it on manual at low. And now I'm just going to leave it in here, probably about 9 hours. And then I thought I'd make some cute little kiwi shamrocks. So we're just taking kiwi, cutting a thinner slice. And then I'm just using my little cutter here. There we have it, little shamrocks. Aren't they cute? Meat is done. You might want to put your thermometer in. It has to be at least 145 degrees Fahrenheit. Now we're going to take it out and put it on our serving platter, but we're not going to cut it yet. We're going to wait 15 minutes. And then we want to drain our vegetables and keep that broth. Now it's time to cut your corned beef, and you want to cut it across the grain just the way you would cut a steak. And don't have the pieces to be too thick. Okay, let's plate it up. Put the corned beef on our plate, put a little of the vegetables, a potato, and I like smashing it up a bit and putting just a little bit of the cooking broth on top of it. But you could also cover your potato with butter. You may want some traditional Irish soda bread, or what I like, some rye bread as an accompaniment. And if your family likes horseradish or stone ground mustard, make sure you have that available too. This slow cooker method is just so easy and so effortless. I hope you try it and you will end up with delicious, tender, melt in your mouth corned beef. But if you don't have time to spend all day cooking it, then try making it in your Instant Pot. Remember, have fun in the kitchen.